born, sir?
Jackson, Mississippi, 1967. Ancient,
Awesome.
yeah.
Where did you attend college?
In central/eastern Kentucky, there's a town called Berea, Kentucky, and a little college there called Berea College. That's where I did my undergraduate degree, and then got a master's in plant ecology from Eastern Kentucky University, and then moved down to Pensacola and went to the University of South Alabama for my PhD in marine sciences.
Okay.
So sort of a marine biologist. I consider myself a jack of all biological trades and maybe master of none, unfortunately.
So, what pushed you into your science field?
My family is so medically oriented. My father, and this is probably not the best fathering thing you could do, I guess, but he told us from the time we were kids that the options available to us were medical doctor, lawyer, judge, or PhD in something. I think he changed his mind as we got older and recognized that maybe just us being happy might have some value there as well. But that's sort of how I got into the science aspect, though. I was initially wanted to be a doctor, so I was a pre-med major up until the last couple terms of school, and then realized I didn't really want to be a doctor. Dr. Ralph Thompson, who was my undergraduate mentor and advisor, was just this intense man, very supportive but very tough, demanding, and had this demeanor outside in classroom that was very hard-nosed, almost frightening, intimidating. And part of that, I think, was his PTSD that he brought back with him from the Vietnam War. But as soon as you got him into the forest, his face would light up. He turned into a child, basically, and he would laugh, and he was very friendly and making jokes and teaching us all these different flowers. It was beautiful botany in the mountains in Kentucky, and that was his specialty. He was a botanist. And I realized when I was out there in the forest with him that that's actually what I wanted to do. So I ended up focusing on plant ecology and identification, largely as a result of his encouragement.
So his passion was a little bit contagious?
Absolutely, yeah. And he loved undergraduate students. He loved teaching. I mean, he genuinely loved and cared about his students. I remember at one point was in love with this girl, and we had broken up and broke my heart, and I ended up flunking out of Berea College the second time I flunked out. And when I came back and they let me back in and I went to meet with him, he was incredibly compassionate and understanding of what had happened, and the fact that I had had this broken heart, you know, and very encouraging for me to get back in and continue. And I know I've related the story to you, that our final requirement was in a class called Senior Seminar, and we had to research a project and then present it. And because of how much I wanted to please him, I worked really, really hard on that project. It was the last class I took in college, and he, when I was finished, he said, and Dan's presentation had no weaknesses, and that just sort of lit a spark in me when I realized that I could do it if I applied myself. And I knew he didn't just say that to encourage me, he meant it. And that just meant a lot to me. And I think that was really kind of what opened it up for me, made me realize that's what I wanted to do.
Those words
Yeah.
into you to bring you here today.
Yes, yeah, and I wrote him a letter when he retired, and I could tell how much it meant to him to know how important he had been. And he told me he felt like that I was carrying the torch. He'd passed the torch to me as a biology professor, and it was a very rewarding interaction with him. Yeah.
Are you involved with any clubs here at FSCJ?
Yes, the Cell Science and Microbiology and Cell Science Club.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
There were a couple of students who were specifically interested in micro and cell bio. We have a biomedical pre-professional club society. BPSS is biomedical pre. Oh gosh,
The long one, huh?
Kim Connor's going to kill me on that one. And then we have a pre-pharmacy club. But these students were really interested in cell bio and microbiology, so they wanted a club. So they approached myself and Dr. Katie Rawls, who is a microbiology and genetics professor. So we're co-advisors in that club. And then recently I submitted to the Student Life, the it's not really a club, but they're going to have flyers for students that might be interested in pushing those kids in wheelchairs. So that's not really a club, but sort of.
When it comes to your students and then they're scientists and they're trying to come about and they're learning their paths and their ways, how do you push them? How do you teach them? What words of encouragement do you give to them?
I think a lot of kids, and I say kids, of course a lot of our students are not kids, but they already know where they're going. You know, especially the military people and the older people that have come back to school, generally they already know where they're headed. A lot of times the kids that are kids that have been maybe in trouble when they were younger, a lot of times I will relate to them my own personal experiences, what a terrible student I was, in and out of minor petty stuff, in and out of jail when I was younger, and I think just relating to them that, look, you know, even though you may have made some mistakes, you can turn it around now. Yeah, I call this the school of second chances. To me, that's what FSCJ is. It's why I love it so much. As opposed to JU or UNF, you know, we have lots of people that are getting a second opportunity here, and that's just so much more rewarding than somebody who's already had all the breaks in life, you know. I'm kind of a fan of Dr. Phil, you know, he has a saying about being born on third base and thinking you hit a home run, you know. I was born on third base. I realized that. My dad was a doctor, had all the advantages, you know, and almost screwed it up anyways. A lot of our students they weren't even born on first base, you know, had none of the advantages. And if they succeed, they have truly hit a home run, you know. For me, it was a base hit. And that's just very, very satisfying.
So before we end, what was that quote again from your professor?
Oh, in senior seminar, yeah. He knew I kind of had an attitude problem, even though he was my favorite. So we were trying to tape figures. This is old days, you know, when you didn't have all the computers to use. So you had to very carefully tape figures into manuscripts. And he didn't like there to be even the slightest vision of a line around it. And it was been hours. We were in there all night. We were all getting really frustrated. And he could tell that some of us were going to start trying to slip out the door. So he looked around the room and he said, and if any one of you motherfuckers, and pointed right at me and said, gets up and leave, you'll never graduate. And he meant me. Needless to say, I did not get up and leave. I stayed because he meant it. I finished what he told me to do and made it through.
Was he one of those he pointed at?
He pointed, yeah. There was 10 of us in there, and he goes, yeah, it was me, yeah. Yeah, he knew me, yeah.
But here you made it, sir.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being part of FSCJ.
All right, thanks for the interview. I enjoyed it. And good luck to you.
Thanks.